phrasal verbs. What are they? Where they live? What do they eat? Today, I want to show you some phrasal verbs. Actually, I want to talk to you about what are phrasal verbs, how can we use phrasal verbs, why do we use phrasal verbs, and how you can learn phrasal verbs. Don't worry, because I'll not give you a list of phrasal verbs that you must know, but I'll show you how to learn them instead. So first, I want to show you the importance of phrasal verbs inside a context. So I will have here with me two conversations. Actually, it's gonna be the same conversation, but the first conversation is without phrasal verbs, and the second conversation is with phrasal verbs. So let's see. Good morning, David. Did you watch the news last night? Morning, Sophie. Yes, I watched it for a bit. Quite concerning, isn't it? Absolutely. There was a segment discussing environmental issues that caught my attention. I read about it too. They're exploring ways to mitigate climate change. It's crucial. We should become more active in finding sustainable solutions. Agreed. The environment needs to increase their efforts in the regards. So now I'll show you the same conversation, but with phrasal verbs. Good morning, David. Did you catch the news last night? Morning, Sophie. Yes, I tuned in for a bit. Quite concerning, isn't it? Absolutely. There was a segment addressing environmental issues that grabbed my attention. I looked into it too. They are delving into ways to mitigate climate change. It's crucial. We should get more involved in finding sustainable solutions. Agreed. The government needs to ramp up their efforts in the regards. So here I have lots of phrasal verbs, and these phrasal verbs has the same meaning as the words here that there are not phrasal verbs. So let's see the meaning of these phrasal verbs. The first phrasal verbs is catch the news. It means catch something. So when you catch the news is when you watch the news or when you listen to the news. So did you watch the news is the same thing as did you catch the news? Tuned into is the same thing as watch or listen. So I tuned into the news. It means that I watched the news. Looked into is the same thing as investigate or research or search. So I like to look into animals' pictures on Google. Look into. It means search. Delve into. Delve into means explore deeply. So it's not only search, it's really explore. It's more than search. So delve into. Get involved is participate of something. So get involved is participate. Ramp up is increase or intensify. Okay? So, what are the phrasal verbs? Finally, the phrasal verbs are two or three words together that have only one meaning. So, if you get these two words together, for example, ramp up, it means only one thing. In Portuguese, we say aumentar. It's only one word in Portuguese, but in English, there are two words together, two or three. Okay? And they are used to swap out. It means substitute. Swap out. Substitute a normal verb to a more natural way to speak. So we use the phrasal verbs to make our conversation more natural. That's why we use the phrasal verb. And I want to tell you a secret that not everybody knows, but American people use a lot of phrasal verbs, but they have no idea what phrasal verbs are. If you tell them, oh, I learned a new phrasal verb, they will not understand you because they don't know what a phrasal verb is. They only know how to use them. For them, it's only words, okay? It's an expression, let's say. They don't know what a phrasal verb is. I'm not saying that nobody knows what a phrasal verb is, but most of people in American don't know what a phrasal verb is. So don't worry about grammatical things like, oh, I must put a word and then after I need to put a subject. No, you need to learn the phrasal verb itself. So, for example, I learned that swap out is substitute. And that's it. Swap out. I don't need to dive into the phrasal verb to understand every single word. No. Put the two words together and try to understand what they mean. And that's it. Okay? So, phrasal verbs are two words that means only one thing. And they are used to swap out a normal verb to create a more natural conversation. And how do you use the phrasal verb? The phrasal verbs, as I told you, are like dynamic duos. What is duos? Two words, two things together. So it usually is a verb, and after the verb, there is a preposition. For example, in, on, out, up, a preposition, or an adverb. Okay? And some phrasal verbs are separable. It means that you can put a object inside the phrasal verb. For example, turn up. Turn up is to increase the volume. Turn up. But you can say, she turned up the music. Or you can get the object, that is the music, and put in the middle of the phrasal verb. She turned the music up. For other example, I can say turn off the lights or turn the lights off. It is a separable phrasal verb. A separable phrasal verb is a phrasal verb that I can put a object inside the phrasal verb, between the two words of the phrasal verb. Okay, but we also have inseparable phrasal verbs. Inseparable phrasal verbs are phrasal verbs that you can't put the object between the phrasal verb. You can only put it at the end. For example, he ran into an old friend. Run into. Run into means ir até a pessoa. Encontrar a pessoa. So, he ran into an old friend. I can't say he ran an old friend into. No. Run into is inseparable. But teacher, how do I know if it's separable or inseparable? There's no rule. There's not a specific way where you can find out, discover if a phrasal verb is separable or inseparable. What you need to do is learn the phrasal verb itself. And inside the context, you will see if the phrasal verb is separated or not. If you see a separated phrasal verb, you can find out that you can separate it. For example, the phrasal verb wake up. Wake up is a separable phrasal verb because I can put an object inside between wake and up. For example, wake me up. But let me think of another phrasal verb that is not separable. Getting, that means go inside a place. For example, get in the car. It's not separable. I can't say get the car in. No, get in the car. It means entrar no carro. And I can't separate it. But I only know it because of the usage. Okay? So you will only learn how to use phrasal verbs if you use phrasal verbs. As I told you first, the best way of learning a phrasal verb is to learn it by a context. So you will see the phrasal verb inside a context, inside a series or a movie, maybe a song or a text, a book, I don't know. And you will search the meaning of the phrasal verb, you will understand the meaning of the phrasal verb, and finally you will practice it. So every time you learn and you see a new phrasal verb, practice it. The other one is the flashcards. So you have an app on your cell phone of flashcards. You can either use Quizlet or Brainscape, and you can create your own list of flashcards and you can practice them. So what you can do is, on the first side, on the front side, you can put the normal verb or the meaning, and in the back side, you can put the phrasal verb, or vice versa. In the front side, put the phrasal verb, and in the back, you put the meaning or the synonym, the verb, the synonym verb, okay? You can also associate the phrasal verb with situations. So when you learn a new phrasal verb, for example, in a text, you need to understand the context of the text. Oh, what situation is it being used? So, For example, when I say run into, run into is not that I run, literally run. No, it's when I meet someone that wasn't expected. For example, if you make an appointment with your friends, oh, let's meet at the subway. You're not going to run into the person because it was expected. Então, você esperava encontrar essa pessoa. Então, você não run into ela. You run into when you don't expect. You are on the street, okay, taking a walk, and you see a friend. Oh, hey, it's nice to see you. I didn't know you were here. Okay, now you ran into the person because you saw the person and you wasn't expected to see the person. That's the context. That's the situation. Okay? And practice. Always, always practice. Don't forget to practice. If you don't practice, if you only see the phrasal verb and never see it again, you never remember it. Okay? You can also learn phrasal verbs by using chunking techniques. What are chunking techniques? Chunking techniques is when you get a big information and you turn it into small informations. For example, if I give you a list of phrasal verbs, you never learn it. But you can get the phrasal verbs with the word get, for example, and you can make a list of phrasal verbs with the word get. So get up, get down, get out, or you can also separate them into situations. For example, phrasal verbs that I can use on a trip, phrasal verbs that I can use at work, phrasal verbs that I can use to talk about the weather. These are chunking techniques. So turning a big piece of information into a small piece of information. The other technique that you can use is repetition. So every time you listen to a phrasal verb on a movie or a series and you remember the meaning, repeat it, repeat it, and repeat it. And you can also use online resources. That's why I'll give you here 3 apps that you can use to practice the phrasal verbs by yourself. The first one is Phrasal Cards Lite. And this is the picture that you're gonna see on your Play Store or on your Apple Store. The other one is phrasal verbs, and this is the picture you're gonna see on your Play Store or Apple Store, and phrasal verbs, and this is the picture you're gonna see. So you can practice many phrasal verbs with these apps, and on these apps you're gonna see the phrasal verb, the meaning of the phrasal verb, and the word that the verb that indicates this phrasal verb. And also you will see it inside a context, okay? You're gonna see a phrase with these phrasal verbs. And finally, I have the exercise for you. I want you to learn this week at least 10 phrasal verbs, and I want you to bring these 10 phrasal verbs to class. I want you to practice the phrasal verbs with these apps that I just told you, and I want you to watch a movie or a series episode in English, 100% in English, and I want you to identify the phrasal verbs. So that's it. I hope you understood. I hope you got it, and see you next class. Bye bye.